How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and as usual, I'm joined with my brother and co host, Justin Backer. And tonight, the New York Knicks won against the Charlotte Hornets by a final score of 115-91 to clinch the in season tournament wild card. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't fully understand it still. We'll get into the in season tournament implications and whatnot after we discuss this game against Charlotte, but I'm not going to waste any time here. I'm just going to pass it off to Justin. He's going to give us the game recap and his initial takeaways from this blowout victory against Charlotte.
Yeah, first off, the whole point differential thing with this in-season tournament was kind of overwhelming a little bit, trying to keep track of like four different games at once and like two or three of them were blowouts. So it was, I don't know, it was a little overwhelming, but whatever. We're talking about a Knicks win today. So, the Knicks blew out the Hornets. I feel like this is like the fifth time in forever. This is like the fifth time this month I feel like that they've played the Hornets. I'm kind of sick of seeing the Hornets. I know it's only the third time. I'm being dramatic, but point is I'm sick of seeing the Hornets. Anyway, this was the Knicks jumped out to like a pretty early lead in this one. It was a pretty big lead, as a matter of fact. I believe they were winning 29-16 after the first quarter. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I know it was a big lead after the first quarter. And then the Hornets kind of made this a little close. They went into halftime. The Hornets did only down 9. The Hornets were only down 9.5. And, you felt like the Knicks probably should have been up a little bit more. They didn't play that bad, you felt like. But for some reason, the Hornets just wouldn't quit. The Hornets were playing without LaMelo Ball, by the way. I should, note that this is not a full-strength Hornets team. This is already a bad team, but you're making them 20 times worse by taking out LaMelo Ball. So, you felt like the Knicks were kind of playing down to the competition a little bit. Because then in the second half, specifically in the third quarter, the Hornets clawed all the way back and made this a 1-point game at one point. It was, I believe, 56-55 or something like that. You felt like the momentum was completely swinging. The Hornets were going to, possibly steal this game. You were kind of getting a little worried. But from that point on, the Knicks just kind of took over and, ended up blowing out the Hornets 115-91. It was kind of strange seeing the starters out there so late in the game, considering the whole point differential thing for the in-season tournament. I was sitting there. I'm a basketball purist, so I was sitting in my bed going, why are Brunson, Randall, Barrett, all these guys still in the game with 2 minutes left up by 20? If one of these guys gets injured because they need extra points for the in-season tournament, I'm going to be livid. But thankfully that didn't happen. But, that was just some food for thought, But anyway, I'm going to get into some stars of this one, if we will. Julius Randle had a fantastic game in this one. 25 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 8 for 15 from the field. Attack mode from the jump quarter. He got off to a really fast start, and you kind of knew he was in for a big productive night, and that's exactly what he did. He was also a plus 27 for the Knicks in this one. That's amazing. Who else should I talk about? Jalen Brunson had a bit of a weird game. He wasn't as involved, offensively as a creator in this one. He only had 12 points. He was 5 for 9 from the field, so it's not like he was, off or anything. It wasn't really an off night, just kind of an uninvolved night. He saw that his teammates had it going, so he, took a back seat and let them do their thing. The big story of this one, though, is Josh Hart. Before this game, the whole thing with him coming out and saying he's kind of, I don't want to say not pleased with his role, but he did mention, something about his role kind of being small and whatnot. And then before the game, Tom Thibodeau kind of called him out and was like, no, your usage is up, all this and that. His usage is up. We've drawn plays up for him, all this, that. But, Josh Hart arguably had his best game of the season in response. 17 points off the bench. He was also a plus 25, by the way. 17 points, though, 6 rebounds. He was 7 of 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. He was not hesitant in this one. That's something that's, been kind of holding him back really all season. He's been hesitant. He's, not shooting the constant pump fakes over and over again when he gets the ball, especially out on the 3-point line. Very frustrating to watch. But today he was a lot quicker with his decisions. He was much more decisive. And, as a result, he put in his best game of the season. I thought he was fantastic on both sides of the ball today. And, that was by far his best game, in my opinion. Quickly, another awesome game for him. 23 points off the bench, 9 for 20 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3. What more do I really have to say about him? We already know how good he is. I don't need to go into detail. RJ Barrett had a bit of a weird one. He had a bit of a weird game. 16 points, not bad. But he was 3 for 13 from the field. He did hit all 9 of his free throws, though, which was kind of strange. But whatever. Weird game, but I guess productive. So whatever. Yeah, I really don't have much else to add other than they play the Bucks now in the quarterfinals of the in-season tournament. I guess because the Bucks just beat the Miami Heat, so I guess now they play the Bucks on the road. I don't know when that's supposed to be, but I don't know. I don't really understand this whole in-season tournament thing. Me personally, I'm still not the biggest fan of it. I think it's kind of overwhelming. Me personally, as a fan, sitting there trying to focus on all the different point differentials and whatnot was a little much. But I guess the players were into it. The players have all said that it was exciting and it got them in the game. And I guess the results show because the Knicks just continued to run up the score when the game was clearly decided. So I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag. In my opinion, it's just kind of what I don't really care about the NBA Cup. I care about the NBA championship. Like I care about the title. I don't really care about winning the in-season tournament because I don't know. That's already just setting up for some memes. If the Knicks go on to win the in-season tournament and then they get bounced in the second round of the playoffs, I'm already seeing the memes of the hang the banner. They won the in-season tournament. That's your NBA finals. I'm already seeing the memes now. So I don't know. Not the biggest fan, but maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know, but I don't really have much else to add. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, the biggest indicator of this being an in-season tournament game was late in the fourth quarter when the Knicks were already up by like 20 points and Emmanuel quickly hit a deep three and Mike Breen let out a bang. I thought that was pretty funny, and that kind of was like clearly a product of the in-season tournament. I don't think you would have seen that in any other game that had no implication like this. Something else I want to mention though, Mitchell Robinson had 6 blocks in this game, and like 3 of those came in the first 5 minutes. I mean, he was everywhere defensively. He also had 2 steals on the night. He was active on the glass. He had 10 rebounds, and he was being, active on the putbacks and stuff as well. I thought he had a very productive night. Kind of a little bit more under the radar because Julius Randle had the 20 rebounds, and of course, all the focus was on the in-season tournament stuff. But 6 blocks, man, that is amazing. He continues to put up staggering defensive numbers, and he continues to make that case for that all defense team that not only he said he wants to make, but that I also said that he can make this season. So just kind of showboating a little bit. My take is looking pretty good, but that's besides the point. The whole in-season tournament thing, though, I do want to discuss that. I'm still not the biggest fan of it. Like you said, I'm also not the biggest fan of it, but I'm trying to, be positive about it, try to see the good sides of it. Obviously these games have been more competitive. You can see it. The players are definitely in it. They're feeling it. The crowds are in it too. The crowds that are attending these games, they're clearly in it. They clearly understand the stakes of it. Some of the courts are nice, some of the courts are hideous, but that's just besides the point on the courts. But I mean, overall, I think it can be good for the players, but I feel like I still need to see how these next rounds play out for me to really become a fan of the in-season tournament. Obviously we only saw group play so far, so I mean, I'm not going to draw a conclusion just yet because we have yet to really see the real action of this whole tournament. We're about to see it next week, and the Knicks do in fact play the Bucks at some point next week. It'll either be December 4th or December 5th. I don't think they've announced the date for that just yet, but it'll be one of those two dates for certain. um you know it's interesting. If they would have won this game, no, not excuse me here. If the Miami Heat would have beat the Milwaukee Bucks, the Knicks would have ended up playing Boston, but at home. They would have had a home game for these quarterfinals. Instead, the Knicks are going to have to be forced to go on the road and play in Milwaukee yet again for an in-season tournament game. If people remember, the first time those two teams played, it was also for an in-season tournament game, and it was the first in-season tournament game for both of those teams. Now the Knicks have a chance to kind of get their get back a little bit and kind of get some revenge after losing a pretty close game that first time around. If people remember that first game against Milwaukee, the Knicks were down for most of that game, but they clawed their way back. They ended up, taking the lead with like a minute left, and then they ended up falling just short after Damian Lillard just went like nuclear in the last minute of that game. Jalen Brunson also had 45 points in that game, so maybe he'll turn it up a notch now that they're moving on, and he'll just go crazy. Because I mean, tonight he was pretty much, not necessarily non-existent, but like you said, he wasn't as involved. He did have 7 assists, but he wasn't as involved as a scorer. Just 12 points. He only took 9 shots. Usually, you see him take a lot more shots than that. So, it is, continue to play well. It's not like he played bad tonight, just didn't do a whole lot, but, it's not, again, not like a bad game, just silent night. You let the other guys do the work, and it was enough. They won by 24 points tonight against Charlotte. Charlotte is a pretty bad team, and, you said that you're kind of sick of seeing Charlotte. I don't care. Keep throwing Charlotte at us. We're 3-0 against Charlotte this year already. Keep throwing them at us. They're basically free dubs at this point. Keep throwing them at us. At this point, I don't even care. keep throwing them our way. You know what I mean? I will say though, yes, of course, this Charlotte team was shorthanded. They didn't have LaMelo Ball, who was going crazy in the month of November prior to suffering an ankle sprain. Now he's gonna be out for a few weeks, so you hope LaMelo Ball heals up soon and he comes back, just as good as he was playing before. Just for the sake of basketball fans here, we want to see that happen. We don't want to see a guy struggle or a guy get hurt. It looked like Brandon Miller was going to end up killing us yet again because, he's starting to slowly creep into that Knicks killer tier. But, in the second half, he was kind of silenced. He finished the game 7 of 18 overall, 4 of 8 from three. You felt like a lot of those threes came like, during the first half, especially in that second quarter when they kind of started to kind of creep in a little bit towards that lead a little bit. That's when you really felt like Brandon Miller was starting to kind of just go crazy. I don't really know what the game plan was. I don't know why they didn't try to stop him more. I really think they should have game planned it around him because they knew he was going to get the bulk of the shots with LaMelo Ball out in this one. So it is what it is. The third quarter was pretty disgusting yet again. I mean, they had the rare good third quarter against Phoenix, as we mentioned last episode, and then they went right back to a pretty bad third quarter tonight. But, thankfully in the second half of that third quarter, they played better and ended up going into the fourth up by 14. They pretty much just took over from there. Charlotte really didn't even come close the rest of the way, which is a good sign. You shouldn't really be in a dogfight with a team like the Charlotte Hornets. And for the first 2.5 quarters, it looked to be that way. And that's not exactly what you want. You're supposed to be blowing out these teams, and thankfully that is exactly what they did. They ended up winning by 24, as I already mentioned. But the rest of the in-season tournament is going to be interesting. I mean, now they play Milwaukee. I'm not exactly sure how the rounds work. I'm still trying to learn more about it, so I don't want to exactly say, things that might be misleading. But who knows? Maybe the Knicks can go to Vegas and end up possibly even winning the whole thing, which would be kind of funny. You know what I mean? It would be funny, but it would also be pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of fans, there are probably a decent amount of fans out there that are actually enjoying this tournament, and want to see the Knicks succeed in it. And, I'll admit myself, I was kind of getting into it a little bit, during this game. It was kind of exciting seeing, the score get run up like that. But at the same time, like you said, I also don't want to see players get hurt. So, if a player got hurt because of the point differential thing, yeah, I'd be pretty mad about that as well. Thankfully, that did not happen tonight. So we don't need to worry about that. And hopefully I don't need to worry about that again. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of excited to see how it plays out. And if the Knicks lose in the in-season tournament, if they lose to Milwaukee next week, then it is what it is. Yeah, it'll kind of suck, but at the same time, I'm not as concerned about the in-season tournament. I'm more focused on the actual playoffs that are coming in the summer rather than this winter in-season tournament. So it is what it is. I don't want to ramble on too much, so I'm going to pass it off to Justin. They have that in-season tournament game that I mentioned, but they do have another game on Thursday that is not an in-season tournament game, and it's against the Detroit Pistons, a team that has lost 14 consecutive games. So I'm just going to pass it off to you and let you kind of preview that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know how I forgot to mention Mitchell Robinson, man. He was amazing in this one. 6 blocks, 2 steals, 10 rebounds. I mean, he's just a monster. I don't know how I didn't mention him, but do I really need to mention him at this point? We all know how insane he is, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But, back to the whole in-season tournament thing, I don't know, man. Like, I know you're excited for it, but like I don't know if I really care. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I view it just as like another game. Like, I view it kind of like a regular season game. Like, yeah, it's got some higher stakes, I guess, but I don't know. It's so confusing that I don't know if I care. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, if I care enough to like learn about it. So I don't know. I thought the season was fine the way it was before all this, but I don't know. Maybe I sound like an old head. So yeah, but I guess it's cool, and I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of them possibly going to Vegas because that game does not count towards the regular season. So that's just an extra game being played for what, $500,000, which to Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett is nothing. So, I don't know. I don't want to say it's nothing, but because $500,000 is a lot of money, but these guys make 25 million plus a year. I don't know if they're really that concerned over $500,000, but I don't know. And not to mention, too, if they do go to Vegas, the schedule is going to be insane because they'll play in Vegas on either the 7th or the 9th. I don't know exactly which day. And then they'll come back to MSG for a home game on the 11th just to go start a 4-game West Coast trip on the 13th. That's insane. I know they're professionals. They're used to a lot of travel, but oh my God, we're probably going to see a lot of jet lag during that West Coast trip if they end up making it to Vegas. It's just they're going to be going back and forth across the country basically 3 times in the span of a week. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm kind of just going with the flow of the whole in-season tournament thing at this point. It's here. It's here to stay. So I can't really, obviously, I can't do anything about it. I'm not the commissioner. So I just got to see. I just got to live with it, I guess. I don't know. Obviously, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm done talking about the in-season tournament. Now let's talk about the Detroit Pistons. They play the Pistons on Thursday. I mean, the Pistons have lost a whole bunch of games in a row. They're terrible this year. This feels like a trap game. I don't know, man. The Pistons have been so bad, and we've seen the Knicks kind of play down to the competition a little bit. I'm a little worried about this game. I don't know why. I shouldn't be. The Pistons are terrible, like I just said, but I'm a little worried. I don't want them to play down to the competition and lose a game to the terrible Detroit Pistons. I mean, so I I don't know. They should win that game by a lot. They should blow them out. What am I saying? But I don't know. Is it reasonable to be a little worried about that? I guess. I don't know. It feels like a trap game, but whatever. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, so I don't really have much else to add. I think I said everything I wanted to say, so I guess I'll give it off to you for your final thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, like, yeah, I'm a little excited for the in-season tournament, but I guess I'm more so like, it's more of like a positive outlook on it. Like, I'm trying to give it a chance here. Like, coming into it, I was not a fan of the in-season tournament at all. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But, seeing how it's going so far, I'm trying to give it a chance. And who knows, maybe it will be beneficial to all these teams. Maybe they will find it very exciting. Maybe the NBA decides it's a very good idea and they run it back next year. Or maybe the NBA decides this is a terrible idea and they never do it again. Who knows what's going to happen? I think everyone's kind of just waiting and seeing how this is going to play out, because I think a lot of people are still extremely confused about this, just as much as I am, just as much as you are. I think a lot of people are very, very confused just about the whole thing and the whole point differential stuff, and how the Knicks are a wild card, even though they went 3-1 in group play and all this stuff. So who really knows at this point? I'm not trying to dwell on the in-season tournament or focus on it too much. I'm just focusing on the fact that the Knicks are winning games. They're 10-7 on the season. They've won 8 of 11, which is something that I think a lot of people need to realize. This Knicks team is very good right now. They are rolling. Sure, they've had some tough losses, especially that Suns game, which still hurts me right now. Just thinking about that one, that Devin Booker 3. Oh, that one still hurts. But they've still won 8 of 11 games, and I will say they bounced back very strong. Yes, it was a very terrible Hornets team, but this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to win by 24 points. Looking ahead to the Pistons on Thursday. Yeah, the Pistons are terrible also. Like I said, they've lost like 14 or 15 games in a row, which is just honestly hilariously bad. So like you said, it does feel like a trap game. The Knicks are that type of team to kind of play it down to their opponent and kind of have these dog fights with teams that they really shouldn't be having dog fights with. Like, you felt like that they really shouldn't have had a dog fight against Phoenix. I mean, sure, Phoenix had Devin Booker and he played very well, of course, but no KD, no Bradley Beal. You kind of felt like that they should have played a lot better against them, but that was 2 games ago. We're not going to dwell on Phoenix anymore. You move on to the next one, and that's what they did tonight. They moved on to the next one and just blew out Charlotte that didn't have LaMelo Ball, which I'm glad they did that, because I was very worried that they were going to find a way to play down to their competition yet again, to another shorthanded team, and play a close game or something like that. I'm glad they didn't do that. For the first 2.5 quarters, it looked like they were going to do that. They didn't do that. I hope they don't do that against Detroit, though. If they lose to Detroit, I'll be a little discouraged. I will be a little discouraged. Now, I know bad losses happen, and I know the Pistons are an NBA team, so they're going to end up winning some games here and there. Even if they are the worst team in the league, they're going to beat a team that is better than them just because they are the worst team in the league. But I really hope the Knicks aren't one of those teams, man. The Knicks are miles better than the Detroit Pistons at this stage. People had said a year ago that the Pistons could have been a sneaky play-in team. No, no, the Pistons are just not good at all. Do they have exciting young players? Absolutely. Cade Cunningham, one of the Thompson twins. I think it's a Sir Thompson that's on the Pistons, I believe. He's exciting. Guys like that. They have some exciting players, sure. The Knicks are just a significantly better team. Significantly better. Shouldn't even be close, really. If it's close, I'll honestly be worried. Even if they do win that game. If it's close, I'll be a little concerned about it. Oh, yeah, and they also have Alec Burks. The Pistons do. I should mention that. Old buddy Alec Burks. We could use him right now. I don't want to dwell on that too much. I miss Alec Burks. But anyways, I don't really have much else to say. So I do think this is a good time to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate your guys' support. Let us know what you guys say about the in-season tournament in the comment section below. I think a lot of fans, I noticed it on Twitter personally. I think a lot of fans actually kind of seem to like it more than I personally thought they would. But I think there's also, a handful, including myself, that are still confused about it and not really sure how they feel about it. Let us know what you guys say about it, though. We'd love to hear it. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Of course, this YouTube page that you're watching the video on. The audio version of this podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can give us a 5-star rating on those. Our personal Twitter or X accounts are above our heads. You can follow us on there. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace.